December 20th, 1820. John Bell lies dying in his bed in Robertson County, Tennessee. His family finds him unresponsive, foam at his lips, skin cold. In his medicine cabinet, a vial no one recognizes, dark liquid, no label, no explanation. His son tests a drop on the house cat. The animal convulses, dead within seconds. Then, from the empty air of the room, a voice, not a whisper, not a moan, a clear, triumphant woman's voice. I gave him poison. He'll never rise again. The vial vanishes. John Bell dies hours later, and the entity that claimed his life had been witnessed, heard, felt, documented by hundreds. This is the Bell Witch, the only American haunting where a spirit allegedly murdered someone, and an entire community swore it was real. 1817, Robertson County, Tennessee, the Red River Valley, where the frontier is still raw. Cherokee land, until very recently, taken, settled, claimed. The Bell family owns over 300 acres here. John Bell is a prosperous farmer, a Baptist church leader, a man who owns other human beings. In this community, reputation is currency. What your neighbors say about you becomes truth. His family, wife Lucy, teenage daughter Betsy, young son Richard, who will one day write it all down. They live in a world where witness testimony carries the weight of law, where oral tradition preserves what happened, where belief and history are the same thing. It begins with knocking, scratching at the walls outside the Bell cabin. John investigates, finds nothing. The sounds move inside, rats gnawing at bedposts, except there are no rats. Chains dragging across floors, except there are no chains. The children wake choking, invisible hands at their throats. Betsy Bell screams in the night. Something unseen slaps her face hard enough to leave marks, pulls her hair until she weeps. John Bell tries to keep it private. Shame, perhaps, or fear of seeming mad. But the attacks escalate, and silence becomes impossible. Months pass. The presence grows bolder. Then one night, it speaks, not groans, not whispers, full sentences. A woman's voice, clear as any living person. It quotes scripture, sings hymns, holds conversations. Neighbors are invited to witness. James Johnston, an educated man, an investigator of strange phenomena, comes to document what's happening. He hears it, questions it, records its answers. The entity claims identity. Sometimes Kate Bat's witch, sometimes a spirit seeking justice. Always it declares a singular purpose. I am here to kill John Bell. Word spreads through Robertson County. Dozens come to the Bell farm, then hundreds. Preachers, teachers, lawyers, farmers. They don't come to mock, they come to witness, and they do. The voice speaks to them, calls them by name, reveals secrets only they would know, predicts events that later come true. It debates scripture with ministers and wins. It sings hymns in multiple voices simultaneously, harmonizing with itself. Some flee in terror, others return night after night, documenting everything. Sworn statements, signed testimonies, men and women staking their reputations on a single claim. This is real. We heard it. We cannot explain it, but we cannot deny it. In an era before recording devices, before photographs, before forensic evidence, witness testimony was truth, and the Bell Witch had hundreds of witnesses. 1819, Andrew Jackson, war hero, future president, hears the stories. He decides to investigate personally, according to the account passed down, documented by Richard Bell. Jackson's wagon approaches the Bell property. On a clear, dry road, the wheels suddenly lock. His men whip the horses. The animals strain. The wagon will not move. Jackson himself examines the wheels. No obstruction, no explanation. Then a woman's voice from the empty air. "Go ahead, General. I'll see you tonight." The wheels roll freely. That night, the entity allegedly torments Jackson's party. One man claims to be a witch layer, someone who can banish spirits. The voice mocks him. Invisible blows strike him until he flees. Jackson, the man who faced down the British at New Orleans, allegedly said, "I'd rather fight that battle again than spend another night with the Bell Witch." Whether this happened exactly as told, we cannot know, but the story was famous enough by the 1840s to appear in national publications. The Bell Witch wasn't local folklore, it was a phenomenon. Through it all, the entity fixates on Betsy Bell. She's engaged to Joshua Gardner, a young man from a neighboring farm. The witch opposes the match violently. Whenever Joshua visits, the voice screams, objects fly. Betsy is struck, tormented. The attacks intensify for 4 years. 1821, Betsy, exhausted, breaks the engagement. The voice sings in celebration. Betsy Bell will marry another man later, but those who knew her said she carried a sadness the rest of her life. A love story ended by something no one could see. A choice stolen by a presence she couldn't fight. December 1820, John Bell falls ill. His jaw stiffens, his tongue swells. He cannot eat, can barely speak. The family cares for him, but he deteriorates. December 20th, they find him unresponsive. The mysterious vial appears in his medicine cabinet. The cat dies from a single drop. The voice claims credit. John Bell dies that day. At his funeral, the entity sings, mocking hymns, celebratory songs. Even in death, he is not granted peace. 1821. After John Bell's death, the activity diminishes. The voice announces its departure. "I will return in 7 years." 1828, brief disturbances, conversations with Lucy Bell and Richard, then silence again, a final prophecy. "I will return in 107 years." 1935. The year comes. Some claim strange occurrences at the old Bell property. Others report nothing. The prophecy, conveniently, is unfalsifiable, but the dread lingers. The idea that something promised to return, that it might still be waiting. Who or what was the Bell Witch? Kate Batts was a neighbor woman John Bell allegedly cheated in a land or slave transaction. Known as eccentric, possibly mentally ill, the entity sometimes identified as her witch. Some accounts suggest Bell wronged or killed someone whose spirit sought revenge. The Bell family enslaved people. Some theories suggest a curse born from that cruelty and injustice. The land was recently Cherokee territory. Stolen land, stolen peace. Poltergeist activity often centers on adolescents under psychological stress. Betsy was a teenager, engaged against possible inner wishes, living in a repressive environment. Some suggest her unconscious mind was the source. Others propose mass hysteria, ergot poisoning, shared delusion, fraud sustained by collective belief. We will never know. John Bell cannot defend himself. Kate Batts left no testimony. The enslaved were not asked. The voice, if it existed, is silent. Here is the terror of the Bell Witch, not what it did, but what it means that so many believed. Hundreds of witnesses, educated men, church leaders, neighbors with reputations to protect. They signed statements, gave testimonies, insisted until their deaths. We heard it, we saw the marks. We cannot explain it, but we cannot lie. Either they were all deceived, or something happened that should not be possible. Both options are horrifying. If they were deceived, how fragile is human perception? How easily do we construct shared realities from nothing? If they were truthful, what does it mean that the world contains this? If the witch was real, If it was the spirit of Kate Batts, or a wronged woman, or someone Bell harmed, then this is a story about justice beyond the law, revenge beyond the grave. But what kind of justice torments an entire family for one man's sins? What kind of righteousness destroys a girl's chance at love? If John Bell was guilty, his punishment was absolute. If he was innocent, his murder is unforgivable. We don't know which, and that ignorance is the curse we inherit. The Bell Witch is different from other American hauntings. It was documented in real time. It was investigated by credible figures. It left a paper trail of testimonies, letters, newspaper accounts, and yet no physical evidence, no recording, no proof beyond the word of those who were there. In the 19th century, that was enough. Witness testimony was evidence. Oral tradition was history. But now, in an age of cameras and recordings and forensic analysis, we're left holding a story that hundreds swore was true and no way to verify it. The Bell Witch exists in the gap between belief and proof, and that gap is where dread lives. Betsy Bell lived until 1888. She married, had children, lived a long life, but those who knew her said she never spoke of Joshua Gardner without sadness. She carried the weight of the witch until she died. A haunting doesn't end when the ghost leaves. It ends when the last person marked by it is gone. And even then, the stories remain, passed down, embellished, questioned, believed. The Bell Farm still stands. The cave on the property has become a tourist site. People come seeking the witch. Some claim to feel her presence. Others leave disappointed. But the question persists. What do we do with a story this many people swore was true? How do we hold testimony without evidence, belief without proof? The Bell Witch forces us to choose. Either we accept that an entire community was deceived by fraud or delusion, that hundreds of witnesses were wrong, mistaken, or lying, or we accept that something happened in Robertson County, Tennessee that defies explanation, that a voice spoke from nothing, that a presence killed a man, that the impossible occurred and was witnessed and was real. Both choices are unbearable. And that's the haunting that remains, not the ghost, the uncertainty, the gap between what was claimed and what can be proven, the weight of witness testimony from people who had everything to lose by speaking, the possibility that truth and impossibility are not opposites. John Bell died in 1820. The voice claimed credit, hundreds heard it, and we are left 2 centuries later holding their testimony in one hand and our disbelief in the other, unable to reconcile them, unable to let go. The Bell Witch doesn't ask us to believe in ghosts. It asks us to believe in witnesses, to trust what people swore they experienced, or to accept that human perception is so fragile that entire communities can be convinced of lies. Either answer is terrifying, and the witch, real or imagined, knows it.